All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to unlock the secrets behind a little piece of tech you probably use, oh, I don't know, hundreds of times a day without even a second thought. Yeah, we're going on a journey to meet the invisible architects of online trust, and it all starts with a very, very familiar symbol. Yeah, that little guy. You see it all the time, right? Up there in your browser's address bar. It's supposed to be this little symbol of safety, the sign that your connection is secure. But what does that actually mean? I mean, how does your browser just know it can trust the website you're on? Well, the answer is this fascinating story of digital imposters, cryptographic signatures, in a global network of, get this, digital notaries. So, to really understand the solution, we first have to wrap our heads around a huge problem that was baked into the internet from its earliest days. And at its core, it's really a problem of identity. See, here's the thing about the internet. Anyone can claim to be anyone. I mean, in the digital world, you can't exactly look someone in the eye or check their ID, right? And that creates this massive challenge for secure communication. It's often called the public key distribution problem. Let's make this real with a classic example. Okay, so let's say we have Bob, and Bob wants to talk to Alice privately. To do that, they're going to use something called public key cryptography. All Bob needs to do is send Alice's public key. She can then use that to encrypt messages that only he can open with his secret private key. Sounds simple enough, right? He just zips it over. But, uh-oh, not so fast. There's an eavesdropper. We'll call her Eve, and she's sitting right in the middle of their connection. She actually intercepts Bob's public key before it ever gets to Alice. Then she forwards a totally different public key, her own, to Alice, pretending it's from Bob. This is what's known as a masquerade attack. And this right here, shows the deception perfectly. Alice is over there thinking she's setting up the super secure channel with Bob, but what's really happening? She's using Eve's key. So now, any secure message she sends can be read and even messed with by Eve before it's passed along to Bob. Their whole conversation is completely compromised from the get-go. So this brings us to the big, crucial question. How do we solve this identity crisis? How can Alice ever be sure that the key she received actually belongs to Bob and not some imposter like Eve? I mean, there has to be a better way than just blindly trusting whatever you're sent online. Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle is a really clever cryptographic tool called a digital signature. And look, it's a massive step in the right direction, but as we're about to see, it comes with one major catch. So what is a digital signature? Well, think of it like a tamper-proof wax seal, but for the digital age. Using his private key, Bob can sign his public key. Then anyone can use Bob's public key to check that signature, and if it's valid, it proves it could only have come from him. Now, this gives us two really powerful guarantees. First, authenticity. We know the message, in this case, Bob's public key, was definitely sent by the owner of the matching private key. And second, something called non-repudiation, which just means Bob can't turn around later and deny that he signed it. So, seems like we've solved the problem, right? Well, not quite. And this is the crucial point, so listen close. The signature proves the message is authentic to a key. It doesn't prove who the owner of that key actually is. So yeah, Alice knows the key she received was signed by its matching private key, but she still has no idea if that key pair belongs to good old Bob or to Eve the imposter. We're right back where we started, stuck on the identity problem.
So if we can't trust people to just vouch for themselves online, who can we trust? Well, the answer is a special, highly trusted third party. It's time to meet the hero of our story, the Certificate Authority, or CA for short.
Okay, so a certificate authority is basically a company or an organization whose entire job is to be trustworthy. That's it. They perform this critical task of verifying someone's real-world identity, whether that's a person or a website, and then they cryptographically bind that identity to their public key. And they do this by issuing something called a digital certificate. Now, the absolute best way to think about this is with a simple but really powerful analogy. A certificate authority is pretty much the internet's passport office. Think about it. In the real world, you prove your identity with documents to get a passport. Online, a website proves its identity to a CA, and that CA then issues a trusted digital certificate. It's doing the exact same job. And if we were to crack open this digital passport, this certificate, we'd see the same kinds of things you'd expect. The subject is who it's for, like your bank's website. The issuer is the CA that stamped it, kind of like the government office. It, of course, contains the verified public key, and just like a real passport, it has expiration dates. Okay, so we have the theory down. CAs act like digital passport offices, and that solves the identity problem. Now, let's see how this all comes together in the real world, during those critical milliseconds right before a secure website loads on your screen. It all happens in a flash, in a process called the HTTPS handshake. So first, the website server presents its certificate, its digital passport. Your browser then immediately goes to work verifying it, checking the CA's signature against its own built-in list of trusted authorities. Once that checks out, your browser uses the website's public key to securely exchange a new temporary key just for this one session. And with that done, boom, a secure encrypted connection is established. And that successful verified handshake, that is the moment the little padlock appears. See, it's not just a symbol of encryption, it's a symbol of verified identity. It's your browser's way of screaming at you, hey, I've checked this website's passport and I can confirm it is who it says it is. But hang on, how does this even scale to billions of websites and devices? I mean, your browser can't possibly know every single CA in the entire world. Well, the answer lies in a really clever hierarchy, what's known as a chain of trust. So here's how it works. Your browser and your operating system come with a small pre-installed list of highly vetted root CAs. Think of these as the ultimate anchors of trust. Now, these root CAs, they don't issue certificates to websites directly. Instead, they authorize intermediate CAs to do it for them. So when your browser gets a certificate, it follows that chain of signatures all the way back up until it hits a root CA that it already trusts. And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how these ultimate keys are protected. The private keys of the root CAs, we're talking the master keys to the entire internet's trust system, are kept in physically secure vaults, completely offline. They are never, ever connected to a network. They're only brought online under these strict, audited ceremonies just to sign certificates for intermediate CAs, and that might only happen a few times a year. It's wild. So this entire system, the certificate authorities, the certificates, this whole chain of trust is known as Public Key Infrastructure, or PKI. It's the quiet, unseen locksmith working behind the scenes. It's the invisible architecture that makes e-commerce, online banking, and all private communication even possible. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This massive global system, the very foundation of our entire digital world, ultimately has its trust anchored to just a handful of cryptographic keys stored in offline vaults. It's an incredibly robust design for sure, but it really makes you wonder, what would it truly take to shake that foundation?